Today's episode, folks, we're going to be installing the Bluetti Charger 1, which is a DC-DC charger, also known as an alternator charger. And what this does is it upgrades the ability to charge your Bluetti device or other power banks via this. Rather than using the 12-volt cigarette lighter charger that does 100 watts, this enables you to do up to 560 watts. So 1 hour of driving with this on my 2000 watt power bank means I do 5%, whereas this would do between 25 to 30%. So we're going to install it today. Just for reference, the Bluetti AC200P I paid my own money for. I paid £729. So what this Bluetti is, it's an all-in-one power station. It has the battery in there, it has the inverter, and it has the solar charger. So there's several ways you can charge it. One is obviously through the power plug directly at home. A lot of people use these as backup power, so you can charge them in other ways. One is through the cigarette lighter charger, which I mentioned earlier. Another one is through the solar. One of the reasons I went for the Bluetti station was because it allows third-party panels like the ones behind me. These are from City Plumbing, so they're £60 each, so they're nothing to do with Bluetti brand-wise. And together they are 460 watt hours. One of the reasons why I brought the Charger 1 is because the solar is definitely not reliable in the UK. Should you go through the Charger 1 or solar panels? I would actually do both, and that's because I'd be parking up during the day quite a lot, and that would be trickle charging the batteries, fingers crossed. Let me give you an example of what solar's like right now. So let's plug in the solar. So these leads are the ones that came with the charger itself. And then this power breaker box I had to by myself. I did get it up from eBay for around £20, but have a little guess of how much solar these 860 watt panels are going to put in. So I'll put 3 numbers on the screen and you choose which one you think it's going to work, and then we'll switch it on and we'll come back to it later. As you can see, these panels are massive, so they're not small. Basically, if I just stand in front of them, kind of 2 of me wide and almost 1 of me tall, so the physical footprint of them is pretty big. This is what you get in the box here, so you get a list of these items. I paid £229 and I got the Charger 1 and the cable together as part of the package. Comes with the 60 amp breaker and it looks super easy to install, so we're going to go ahead and do that now. First of all, we're going to open up the grub screws, which are located here. The way you access them is through the top. It's the same on the other side. The holes are physically different sizes, so it's very clear that the MC4 adapter is going to go in the small one and then on the large one through this side. So let's open them up. Comes with the Allen key, so we're just going to go in and then we're going to twist. So lefty loosey, righty tighty. There we go, and I'm going to do that for this one and these. Now I've opened them up, I'm going to attach this one first, so it will be like this. So the red in the positive, black in the negative, and then we're just going to turn them through, righty tighty. First I'm going to make sure that the Charger 1 actually works rather than feeding the conduit all the way through the vehicle. So it is quite easy to hook up. So first of all, I'm going to use the cable that came with the Bluetti station itself, which is the MC4 connectors for the solar, and I'm going to plug them in. At the minute, there is no power going to the unit. This is the vehicle that it's going in, a 2009 Insignia. The car is now 16 years old. It's held together with duct tape and hope, and I am saving up to buy a van and convert it, which is one of the reasons why I went for the Bluetti. Now we need to open up the hood of the car. So my catch is underneath here, and then my catch is in the middle. Some people's are over here, but just open you go, and your battery will be here. So you'll see a big box. This has a case on it. Mine just pulls up. Always disconnect the entire negative terminal before connecting anything. Just a quick note, I've had to re-record this because my GoPro Hero 10 do not recommend it, it just keeps freezing. So here's how you do it. Mine's connected in right now, which is why you've got the shiny red wire and the shiny new black wire. When you're working with electronics on the car, you need to disconnect the negative terminal. So that's the first thing you do. It's a 10mm socket on my car. You hold the plastic cable and you pull it off. I attached a new cable to the spare stud on the lug itself while it was off the battery. The final step is reattaching the negative, but in the meantime you attach the positive terminal. The car engine is not on at the moment,
but I flipped the switch to turn the charger 1 on and connected it to the app and followed the on-screen instructions.
Charging voltage, then go to next, select model. Mine is the AC 200p. Then we'll go next again. And then it's going to change the voltage. You can see the little countdown here. So we're going to have to wait. And you'll get the little message coming up. And then we'll hit done. I'm going to switch it on. We go to settings, make sure it is connected PV mode for the solar panel, not the car. The car is the 12-volt one. And then the moment of truth. There we go, charging on there. Charging on there. Now that we know it's working, we're going to throw it in the car itself.
From the engine bay, we need to determine where the wires are going to go through the car into the cabin area. So we're looking for wiring or conduit, something like that, not rubber hoses. You can see the red wire here, that's the new cable that I've just installed, so I just wanted to make it super obvious for everybody. You can tell it's a new day because somebody hit my car. Ugh, never mind. Where the conduit comes out for me is underneath the glove box, and it's underneath this carpet here. So you can see the red cable. It didn't give me that much access, so what I did is I removed the glove box. For my car, it was simply just pulling the glove box open. This panel isn't bolted into anything, so you just give it a pull. And then I had 4 screws, so there's one down here that you need access to, one here, and one down there. The ring terminal cables need to be pushed through from the cabin area into the engine bay. The conduit for the cables have rubber seal around it, and there was a little nib on there that I pulled, which managed to make a little hole there. I did make the hole a little bit bigger, but then basically you push the ring terminals into the engine bay. I like to give people a real world view of what things are and trying to make them as easy to follow as possible.
With any luck, they're going to be on the outside now. Yeah, there we go. There's a bit better view for you.
In the entire installation process, this was the hardest part, was finding the entry gland.
We're going to see them down here. I can see one of the wires. There we go. Nice shiny red one.
You just pull the cables through and make sure that they can reach the battery terminals. You might want to tape them to the side of the battery itself, not on the ring terminals, so you ensure that you've got enough cable length.
There we go. We got it.
From there, I opened this section up, as mine has a cap on it. I've got the little clip here. You put it open. I decided to go up here on one of the main parts. It does have a 250 amp fuse between there. That's the cables between the car and the seatbelt. Don't attach the negative terminal until you've completed the entire setup, so do the cables first. After connecting the positive terminal, what I did is I came back here and I wired up the Bluetti device itself, and then I made sure that the fuse was off. So where it says 0 here and it's showing green, that means it's off. The original planned placement for the Bluetti power charger was on this side, because my seats fold as 70-30 split. When I'm car camping, I have the 70% ones folded down, but the cable did not want to reach all the way around to the front of the engine bay. As I use the car all the time for multiple purposes, people do come into the back of the car and I do fold the seats down quite a lot. So what I'm going to do is go to IKEA and buy one of those plastic boards with loads of holes in it. So it's going to be secured down here because of the size of them. And then I'm going to mount them pretty much like this and tidy up the wiring. And then that way I've got access to it, and the cable for the battery is going to go underneath here. So as I mentioned, I am trying to save up for a camper van, and it will be fitted more securely than that. So in the kind of temporary state with this car, that's basically what I'm going to be doing for my solution.
Lots of the panels don't have screws, they're just held on with plastic clips, so you can just pull at them, lift them up, and then just tuck them underneath. And when you kind of realign them, you can kind of just punch them back into place and they'll just clip back in. The little rubber thing I picked up, I just pulled that off the gland that went through to the engine bay, and that's where the ring terminals went through.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to use cable ties, loop the cable around, clip it to the underside of the seat. That way if anyone gets in the passenger seat and moves it back and forth, it won't make any difference. And then I'm going to leave a little bit of slack here. I'm tempted to kind of maybe make a little incision in the bottom. I don't know. This car won't be sold. It will literally just be you know, thrown away pretty much because of the price of it. It's a 16-year-old car, so I won't get anything for it. And the reason I did the charger 1 wiring first before putting the negative on there is so that I knew that there was no electricity passing through the charger 1 device. I did have to modify this a little bit, so I made a little cut. So what I did was I had it over on this side away from all the cables, and I used the Stanley blade to cut out this cable channel, and then I can just basically push it down, and then there it is. I will get some cable ties and tidy this up a little bit better, but for now that will do. When you're putting the battery terminal back on, just hold it by the cable, not by the metal bit, and when you put it onto the terminal first, you might see a spark and you might hear like a crackling noise or a snap. Don't worry about it. You can then tighten this up. You can see that I'm just touching it, no problem, no shocks or anything. As long as you're not connecting them, say, together, then you're okay. Before I flip the switch for the Bluetti itself, I'm going to start the engine first. So the car's running now and it's idling, so let's flip on the switch. And then what should happen is the Charger 1 will start up, and then the Bluetti will detect its charge and then should come on. There's the button there. So right now it's charging at 566, and what we're going to do is I'm actually going to load up the car because I'm going to the boat tomorrow, so I'm going to be driving about 2 hours, and what I'll do is I'll stop halfway through and then I'll tell you what I started with percentage wise, what it is halfway, and the end of my journey. And I'm going to switch the engine off and see what happens. There's the key. So it's still charging now. So it's still detecting voltage. Let me just turn I've just locked the doors for the car. There we go. So 0. It's about 120 miles, just over 2 hours driving. We're now on 53%. We're just brewing up the Sage Barista Pro, which it can handle pretty easy. So just wanted to give you some comparison of what things actually use. Packed and ready to go. And our battery is at 52%. Engine's running. On we go. And here we go. It takes a few seconds actually for it to see what it's doing, but yeah, we're going to be going 52%, and as we drive, it should be consistent. But let's go to the first services. Got to the services. Had 1 hour worth of driving, and now we're on 79%. You can see the time on the top right there. Just managed to pull over. It's 8:30 now, and we actually hit 100% now. So I'm not quite sure when it actually hit 100%, but yeah, it is what it is.
Okay, the reveal. I'll throw up on the screen a few other ones. 34 watts. So out of 860, it's getting 34 watts. With this, you do need to have over 30 watts for it to actually start charging. That's because the solar charger itself requires a little bit of power to kind of tell the battery how much to absorb and so on. Now, yes, the panels do work. I've seen a total of 712 watts from them so far, which is still below the 860 watt mark, but it is winter as I'm doing this. But over the last 2 months of having the solar panels hooked up, it's really not been impressive at all. Very disappointed. I was expecting to get between 100 and 200 on average, you know, just between about 10% of what it actually states in winter, but yeah, it's not that great.
See the sun there, so sun comes from here, goes over here, and there. And we're putting in 45 watts. You can see the time and date at the top there, and then if I press this, you can see the voltage of the 2 panels. The 2 panels are here.
A little while ago I had a few comments when I mentioned that I want to buy a van, is why don't I just lease one or, you know, finance one. Now, I don't have a normal job, I'm an agency worker, and basically everything I buy is just paid in cash. I paid £2,000 for this, which means I don't have to go to work to do the car payment, repayments and all that type of stuff, which means when I'm not working I'm not really stressing because I'm pretty much debt free. And another reason is the T's and C's when it comes to owning vehicles. Let me show you. If this was a leased vehicle, then I'd have to go to a body shop to get this repaired. Now, the front bumper sticks out a little bit, and it's the same on the other side. The reason it sticks out is because somebody with a tow bar hit the car at the bottom. You can see the little dent there, and basically that forced the bumper this way, and they drove off. Now, I just finished building a stand at the NEC, which is somewhere I work quite a lot, and somebody's hit my vehicle. There's no note, there's a big scratch on there, there is a dent, it kind of pulls out here, so it's kind of like a V shape, like outward. Not quite sure how they've managed to do that, and obviously I'm a little bit annoyed by it because this didn't leave a note or anything, but this damage is actually me. Just here, so I basically backed into a wall which was kind of hidden behind a so it's not usual that they have the I'm gonna wrap this up now, guys, because it's 2 AM. Thanks for watching, thanks for being fans.